In the heart of Dhaka, one of the world's most densely populated cities, there lies an unseen world, an invisible tribe that exists within the towering mountains of waste. Most people pass through the bustling streets without even thinking about it. But as the sun rises over this sprawling metropolis, the discarded remnants of the city begin to pile up. What we throw away becomes the livelihood of those who have no choice but to live off the scraps of our consumption. Dhaka is not just a city, it's a labyrinth of chaos, noise, and relentless activity. On its surface, it may seem like any other bustling urban center, but there is something beneath the hustle and bustle that few truly understand. The mountains of garbage. Over 13,000 tons of waste are generated in the city every single day. It's a crisis of monumental proportions, and yet, amid this sea of refuse, a hidden workforce emerges, an army of unsung heroes whose lives are defined by waste. These people are the trashpickers of Dhaka. But who are these individuals? How did they come to live in such dire conditions? And why are they essential to the very survival of this city? We will delve into their lives, their struggles, and the realities they face each day in a city where trash is both a curse and a means of survival. Their story is not one that we typically hear, but it is one that is crucial to understanding the true face of Dhaka. The problem: Dhaka's garbage crisis. To truly understand the role of the trash pickers, it's important to first grasp the scale of the problem they face. Dhaka, a city home to over 21 million people, generates an overwhelming amount of waste daily. The city's waste management system, strained to its limits, can't keep up with the growing population and its ever-increasing consumption. As a result, vast swaths of Dhaka are covered in piles of trash, plastics, metals, food waste, and everything in between. The sight of garbage lining the streets is a daily reality for the citizens of Dhaka, yet this problem goes beyond just being an eyesore. The garbage is a massive public health threat, breeding grounds for disease, and a constant environmental hazard. The lack of an efficient waste management system creates chaos, leaving the streets to be filled with the refuse of the city's 21 million inhabitants. For most residents, this waste is an inconvenience. It clogs the streets, creates a terrible stench, and poses a risk to their health and safety. But for the trash pickers, this waste is their livelihood. Every piece of trash they collect is a potential source of income, a chance to feed their families, or even just to survive another day. Without their efforts, Dhaka's streets would be buried in refuse, and the city would grind to a halt. Yet the work they do is grueling, dangerous, and fraught with risks. Toxic fumes, sharp objects, and infectious diseases are constant threats. And despite being the backbone of Dhaka's informal recycling economy, the trash pickers are treated as invisible people, largely ignored by both the public and the authorities. But even in the face of overwhelming adversity, these people continue to survive. The trash pickers are a testament to human endurance and resilience. They fight every day for survival in an environment that is unforgiving and hazardous. They scavenge, sort, and salvage whatever they can find, all while being exposed to dangerous chemicals, biological waste, and pollutants. Introducing the tribe. Who are the trash pickers? The trash pickers of Dhaka, often referred to as Tokai, are not a single homogeneous group. Instead, they come from diverse backgrounds, men, women, and children, many of whom have lived in these waste dumps for generations. They are survivors, not by choice but by necessity. Forced by extreme poverty, lack of education, and the absence of opportunities, they have no other option but to find sustenance in the very waste that others discard. The typical day for a trash picker begins before the sun rises, when the city is still asleep. They gather their tools, often just simple bags or carts, and head to the vast piles of waste that accumulate on the outskirts of the city or near industrial zones. These places, which would be deemed hazardous to most people, are the equivalent of a gold mine for the trash pickers. Here, in the heaps of broken bottles, discarded electronics, plastic bags, and food scraps, they begin their daily search for valuable materials: metal, paper, plastic, glass, that can be recycled. The streets are chaotic, filled with the clamor of scavengers and the heavy scent of refuse. Children, some as young as 5 or 6, follow their parents or older siblings into the muck. For these children, Life in the dumps is all they know. They grow up surrounded by waste, and the only way to survive is by learning the art of scavenging. School is a luxury that many of these children will never experience. They are taught not by a teacher, but by the environment around them, a world of trash, recycling, and barter. Every item they find, from an empty soda can to a broken chair, has value. The trash pickers sell the recyclables they collect to middlemen who in turn sell them to larger recycling businesses. For many, this is the only means of survival. However, the income is minimal and the work is taxing. Most trash pickers earn only a few dollars a day, enough to feed their families but hardly enough to escape the cycle of poverty. While some might consider the work demeaning, for these individuals, it is a matter of life or death. They are left with no other options, and despite the risks involved, they persist. For the trash pickers of Dhaka, there is no alternative to this grim reality. Their survival depends on their ability to sift through mountains of waste and extract whatever value they can find. And despite their plight, they rarely get recognition for the vital role they play in maintaining the city's fragile recycling system. The invisible labor of Dhaka's trash pickers. Although the trash pickers play a vital role in the city's waste management system, they are largely invisible to the general public. The city's inhabitants rarely give them a second thought. They are seen as outcasts, people who live on the fringes of society. In the eyes of many, they are little more than scavengers, their work seen as dirty and demeaning. The city's government does little to support them, and the formal waste management system offers no protection or benefits for these workers. But this labor, while essential, comes at a high price. It is not just physically dangerous, it is emotionally taxing as well. Trash pickers work in environments that are dehumanizing, exposed to the harsh realities of poverty, pollution, and inequality. They often live in shanty towns built near the dumps, where basic necessities like clean water, proper sanitation, and electricity are scarce. Despite these challenges, the trash pickers play an essential role in Dhaka's waste management and recycling efforts. Without them, the city's garbage problem would be even worse. They help recycle materials that would otherwise end up in the landfill, saving both the environment and the city's economy millions of dollars every year. However, their contributions remain largely unacknowledged. And yet, the trash pickers have not lost their sense of community. They form tight-knit networks, helping one another out in a system that offers no safety nets. In the most difficult moments, they lean on one another for support, whether it's sharing food, offering advice, or simply lending a listening ear. Their survival in such dire circumstances is a testament to their resilience and resourcefulness. The harsh reality. Life in the garbage mountains. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, Dhaka's trash pickers begin to sort through the day's bounty. The mountainous heaps of discarded waste don't just represent garbage to them, they represent survival. But for many, the daily search is not only exhausting but often dangerous. The children who accompany their families to the dumps are forced to learn early how to navigate a maze of broken glass, used syringes, and food waste. Their hands, stained with the grime of the world, sift through the trash with practiced precision, searching for valuable materials. The air is thick with the stench of rotting food, chemicals, and pollution. It's a toxic environment, yet it's the only one these families know. For these people, survival means finding value in the most overlooked and discarded items. Every scrap of plastic, every broken bottle, every used can represents a potential meal, a chance to buy essentials, or perhaps just to make it through the day. Their homes are constructed not with bricks and mortar, but with scavenged materials. In these makeshift homes, made from tin sheets and bits of cardboard, entire families live, eat, and sleep in close quarters, surrounded by the refuse of the city. For many of them, the smell of trash is a constant companion, a reminder of the life they are forced to live. However, the real danger lies not just in the filth, but in the chemicals that permeate the air. The trash pickers often breathe in the fumes of burning plastics, garbage, and discarded electronics. The hazardous nature of this work is not just a theoretical concern, it has tangible consequences. Respiratory problems, skin diseases, and long-term health issues are rampant among the trash pickers. But the most dangerous threat, perhaps, is the constant exposure to toxic waste. Leaking batteries, broken electronics, and discarded medical supplies litter the dumps, posing silent risks to anyone brave enough to dig through the rubble. The trash pickers of Dhaka have a daily battle not just for their lives, but for their health. Every breath they take is a gamble with disease. Yet despite this reality, they persist, driven by the necessity of survival. They must keep working because without their efforts, their families would go hungry. Without their work, Dhaka's waste would simply pile up, a growing mountain that no one could ignore. The struggles of a hidden workforce. The work itself is grueling, and the conditions are unforgiving. The trash pickers do not work for a paycheck or a guaranteed salary. They work solely on commission, meaning that their income depends entirely on what they can find on any given day. The more they collect, the more they earn. But it is a volatile and unpredictable income. Some days they find little to nothing. On these days, there is no food, no money to buy necessities, and no way to escape the crushing poverty. It is a world where failure is not an option. The trash pickers know that if they don't find something valuable in the piles of waste, their families will go without food. Children will cry from hunger, and the cycle of poverty will continue. But the work is also dangerous. Every piece of trash is a potential hazard, whether it's a broken glass bottle, a needle left by an unseen hand, or even the rusting carcasses of old cars that are slowly being dismantled. Children are particularly vulnerable to the risks posed by these sharp objects, and every year, there are stories of tragic accidents that have taken young lives. These children are not given a chance to play, to learn, or to dream. They are born into a life of survival, and their futures are defined not by their hopes and dreams, but by their ability to collect, sift, and recycle. For the adults, the situation is equally dire. There are few opportunities for upward mobility. Education is a luxury many cannot afford. Most trash pickers have no formal education, which limits their ability to access better-paying jobs or opportunities for improvement. In a city like Dhaka, where millions of people are vying for limited opportunities, the trash pickers are at the bottom of the social ladder. But what makes their situation even more tragic is that they are essential to the functioning of the city. Without their work, the city's waste would pile up, creating even more health and environmental risks. Yet, despite their crucial role, they remain invisible, treated as though their labor has no value. The mental toll of this lifestyle is immense. Each day is an endless struggle to survive, and the constant exposure to pollution, illness, and despair takes its toll on the psyche. Children grow up faster here. They learn how to fend for themselves at an age when others are still playing with toys and attending school. They mature quickly because they have to. Survival demands it. Many of them work alongside their parents from a very young age, searching through heaps of garbage for anything that can be salvaged. For the trash pickers, the line between life and death is often razor thin. The reality of illness and injury is something they constantly live with. There is no safety net for them, no healthcare system to turn to. They do not have access to the kind of resources that would make life easier. Instead, they rely on the informal networks they've built with one another, sharing tips, advice, and sometimes even food. These networks, while small, are the closest thing to a support system the trash pickers have. The system that perpetuates their struggles. The question arises, why do these people continue to live in such conditions? Why do they persist in a system that offers them so little? The answer, in many ways, is rooted in a cycle of poverty that is difficult to break. The trash pickers have no access to better opportunities. They are trapped in a system that has been designed to keep them in poverty. The lack of education, healthcare, and social services makes it nearly impossible for them to escape the cycle of waste. It is not just about the physical garbage. They are, in a way, discarded by society as well. But there are some glimmers of hope. A few trash pickers have managed to break free of this cycle. Some have been able to save enough money to send their children to school. Others have found ways to participate in the formal economy, opening small businesses, or finding work in the city's informal labor market. But these stories are the exception, not the rule. For the vast majority of trash pickers, life is a constant struggle, and there is no end in sight. Despite the overwhelming difficulties they face, many trash pickers continue to dream of a better life for their children. They understand that education is the key to breaking the cycle of poverty, but for most, it is an unattainable luxury. The cost of schooling is often too high, and the time required to attend school is time they simply do not have. Instead, they continue to work in the dumps, collecting and recycling, scraping by with what little they can find. The harsh reality: life in the garbage mountains. As the sun rises over Dhaka, the trash pickers begin their daily work, sifting through piles of refuse at the city's vast waste dumps. The mountains of trash are a reflection of the extreme poverty and inequality in Bangladesh. While much of Dhaka's population goes about their daily lives, the tribe of trash pickers is already deep in the waste, hunting for anything of value. These mountains of waste are not just made up of food scraps and broken glass. The garbage heaps are a collection of plastic bottles, cardboard, metal, worn-out tires, and discarded electronics, items that most people would consider worthless. However, to the trash pickers, these items are treasure. Every scrap of plastic, metal, and paper holds the potential to provide income, food, or a simple improvement to their otherwise destitute existence. But they do not merely collect refuse, they also live in it. Their homes are built from the same materials they scavenge: tin sheets, cardboard, plastic sheeting, and broken wood. The dwellings are precariously put together, often leaning and shifting as the wind blows. Yet these are their homes, and within them families live, eat, and sleep, each day facing the same struggles. The scene at the dumps is chaotic, noisy, and dirty. As the trash pickers wade through piles of refuse, the air is thick with the stench of decaying food, chemicals, and rotting waste. Clouds of smoke rise from various areas where trash is burned in an attempt to reduce its volume. The toxic fumes from burning plastic and discarded electronics hang in the air, contributing to the already polluted atmosphere. Yet, amid the chaos, the workers move with a strange sense of purpose. For these families, this is survival. Every morning, they must search the garbage piles for anything of value. The younger children are often sent into the smallest corners of the piles, where the refuse is denser and harder to dig through. They are often forced to scrounge for the tiniest scraps: plastic bottle caps, small pieces of metal, paper, or fabric. Every item has value, but that value depends entirely on the day's find. Some days they collect enough to eat. On others, they return home with nothing but their aching bodies and empty hands. The conditions are brutal. In these dumps, there are no safety regulations, no protective equipment. The trash pickers are exposed to a wide range of potential dangers. Broken glass is common, as are needles and syringes discarded by those who live in the city's streets. But the greatest threat comes from the waste that cannot be seen: chemicals leaching from batteries and electronics, contaminated food, and pollutants that seep into the ground. The exposure to these toxins has long-term consequences. Many trash pickers suffer from respiratory problems, skin diseases, and other health complications, but they have little choice. The alternative is starvation. Every item they collect is a small victory, but each victory comes with a cost. The danger to their health is constant, and even the youngest members of the tribe are not immune to these risks. Small children can be found digging through the trash alongside their parents. They, too, are looking for that next scrap, the next bit of plastic or metal that will make their families a little bit richer for the day. The struggles of a hidden workforce. The lives of these trash pickers are not just physically exhausting, they are mentally and emotionally draining as well. The work never stops. It is an endless cycle. No matter how hard they work, there is never enough. The income from their scavenging is highly volatile. Some days are better than others, but many times, they return empty-handed or with barely enough to feed their families. Imagine the mental toll of living in constant uncertainty. For the adults, the pressure is immense. There is no set salary. There are no guaranteed hours. They wake up every day knowing that they may not find enough to eat. For many, the thought of their children going to bed hungry is unbearable. The guilt that comes with not being able to provide for one's family weighs heavily on their minds. There is no time for rest or relaxation. When they are not sorting through garbage, they are mending their tools or making small repairs to their homes. The harshness of the environment leaves little room for comfort or leisure. Every hour of the day is spent fighting for survival. The work is not just hard, it is isolating. The trash pickers rarely have contact with the rest of society. They are seen as a nuisance or a hidden problem their existence largely ignored by those living in the city's more affluent areas. Even when they venture outside the dumps to sell what they've collected, they are often treated with disdain. The rest of Dhaka looks away, unwilling to confront the inconvenient truth of their existence. Yet, despite these hardships, the trash pickers continue their work. It is all they know, and it is the only way they can survive. In many ways, the work is a grim form of resilience. Even in the face of illness, exhaustion, and despair, they keep going. Their drive to provide for their families pushes them forward, even when the world around them seems to offer no hope. The system that perpetuates their struggles. What makes the trash pickers' situation so tragic is not just the work itself, but the system that keeps them trapped in this cycle. These families live in the most extreme poverty, and the opportunities to escape it are few and far between. They do not have access to the same opportunities as other people in Dhaka. Many have no education, no formal job training, and no skills that would allow them to break out of their current lives. But even more than that, they are stuck in a system that does not provide a way out. The trash pickers' work is essential for the city. Without their labor, the waste in Dhaka would pile up, causing even more environmental and health issues. They are doing a job that needs to be done, yet they are treated as invisible by the rest of society. They are not given the recognition they deserve for their contribution to the city's daily function. The city of Dhaka relies on the trash pickers, but it does nothing to help improve their lives. There are no social services to support them, no health care, no educational programs for their children. They live on the fringes of society, forgotten by the very system that needs them to survive. And this lack of support only perpetuates the cycle of poverty. Without access to education, without access to health care, and without the ability to find better work, they remain stuck in the garbage dumps, scavenging for a life they never asked for. The hidden struggles of the children. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of the trash pickers' lives is the toll it takes on their children. Children are born into this world of waste and struggle. From an early age, they are taught to sort through the trash, to look for items of value that can be sold or recycled. These children are not given the opportunity to play, to go to school, or to dream of a better future. They are forced to grow up quickly, learning the hard realities of life before they have a chance to experience the innocence of childhood. The children of the trash pickers are often the first to go to the dumps. They are small and nimble, able to crawl through tight spaces and search for hidden treasures in the piles of trash. But this work is not just physically dangerous, it is emotionally damaging as well. The constant exposure to illness, the physical toll of the work, and the lack of a normal childhood all take a toll on these young minds. It is hard to imagine a child growing up in such an environment and not feeling the weight of the world on their shoulders. Many of these children will never go to school. The cost of education is too high, and the time spent in the dumps is seen as more valuable. They are often forced to work long hours just to help provide for their families. For these children, the prospect of escaping this life seems nearly impossible. The cycle of poverty is passed down from generation to generation, with no clear way out. A glimmer of hope. Change is possible. Despite the overwhelming struggles, there are rays of hope that shine through the grim reality of the trash pickers' lives. While the system in Dhaka seems designed to keep them trapped in a cycle of poverty, there are initiatives, both local and international, that are working towards bettering their situation. Some organizations are stepping in, providing education, healthcare, and skills training to the children of the trash pickers, offering them a chance at a brighter future. These efforts, though still small in scale, show that change is possible. Children who would otherwise grow up to follow in their parents' footsteps now have a chance to break free from the garbage heaps and create lives for themselves outside the dumps. Another glimmer of hope comes in the form of community empowerment. Trash pickers, often working individually, have started to form unions, advocating for better working conditions, fairer wages, and safer environments. By coming together, they're not just surviving, they're fighting for their dignity and rights. These collective efforts, although still in their infancy, have started to gain traction and bring attention to their cause. But the fight is far from over. However, the fight for change is far from won. While there are organizations and communities working towards bettering the trash pickers' lives, the scale of the problem is overwhelming. The city of Dhaka continues to produce millions of tons of waste every day, and the trash pickers remain the invisible backbone that keeps the city running. Without systemic change, such as better waste management, access to education, healthcare, and a livable wage, their work will always be seen as a temporary solution to a much larger issue. The trash pickers are not just part of a broken system. They are a testament to the failures of a society that has left them behind. They are forced to work in toxic conditions for mere scraps of food, and for too long, their contributions have gone unnoticed and undervalued. But we cannot continue to ignore their plight. What can we do? So, what can we do to help change the fate of the trash pickers in Dhaka? The first step is to raise awareness about their situation. By understanding the reality of their lives, we can start advocating for policies that improve their living conditions, protect their health, and provide opportunities for their children. Support for organizations that are working on the ground to provide education and healthcare can make a real difference. Donating to these causes, volunteering, or simply spreading the word can help bring attention to their needs. Furthermore, we can push for systemic changes in the way waste is managed in Dhaka. Recycling programs, waste reduction strategies, and better treatment of waste workers are all necessary steps in building a more sustainable future for the city. The trash pickers are doing critical work, but it should not come at the cost of their lives and health.